Welcome to Money Conversations with KJ. KJ is a lifelong entrepreneur who's made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, and found his way back again. If you're looking for a sterile how-to, you're in the wrong place. KJ and his guests will walk you through real-life situations told by the people who live them, and they are as messy as they are inspiring. Each episode will offer lessons learned, advice on how to replicate successes and avoid pitfalls, and a new perspective to power your financial literacy. Far from a one-size-fits-all, this podcast can help you build a roadmap to your personal promised land. Milk and honey for some, whiskey and steak for others, and remind you that you're not alone on this journey.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today, I have a really interesting guest. I think you guys are going to get a lot of powerful information and insight from. Her name is Ingrid Clark, and actually, Ingrid and I just met recently. And but I looked into what she does, and she's actually a spiritual alchemist, and she's going to share with you the other things that she does, and we're going to go down the journey of how she came to do what she's doing, right? So Ingrid, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, KJ.
So Ingrid, let me ask you, I understand you're from Austria originally. So do me a favor, just tell the audience a little bit about where you're from, how your path has been through life, and why you're doing what you're doing now.
Great. I am so honored to do that. I was born in Vienna, Austria, right after World War II. So I grew up in a family that was very, very frightened, very, very poor, because during the war, they have learned to be fearful, not to trust anybody. So I was raised that way. Don't have any friends, don't trust anybody, you rely on yourself. And so that was my upbringing. But I've been very fortunate. I was born with a really, really rebellious, inquisitive spirit. So I always think there's gotta be another way in life than being this way. So when I started working at 15, my first job was in a travel agency, the typical secretarial work, right? Typing on a mechanical typewriter. Yeah. That was my first job. I felt, okay, now I have some freedom, right? I don't have to listen to all of this anymore. And so I went a few years from one job to the next because I love learning. I'm very curious. I have this drive. I want to know more. I want to learn more. So I will go from job to job. And eventually, I got a job in property management in Munich, Germany. I did that for a while. And then I felt inspired. I'm very intuitive. So I'm actually left and right brain at the same time. I'm smart and I learn easily and I have a great memory. But I'm also have really strong intuition and I don't question it. I just leap. That's my specialty. I'm a leaper. So I leaped. I bought a ticket. I went to Berkeley, took an English class because back in 82, you could only come on a student visa. So I enrolled in an English class because I didn't know English, right? I mean, I had a few words in grade school, but I really didn't know how to communicate. And so I took that class for about 6 weeks. And actually, I came with a two-way ticket because I had to come that way, right? But I decided not to go back. So I stayed. I went to Tampa, Florida, because I loved the sunshine. San Francisco was beautiful, very European, but very cold even in July. So I went to Tampa, Florida, got a waitressing job. I happened. I don't believe anything in life is coincidence. I think our mind sets the course, and this is what we want to do, and the universe just brings us the pieces that we need to accomplish that, right? So I met this girl who happened to be from Austria, and her and I became a little bit friends. And she got me that waitressing job. And I remember to this day, KJ, I remember to this day, I saw everybody else lunchtime, right? These big trays with 6 and 8 plates, and they just lean down and they pull it up. But I have never done it. I kept telling myself, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And then so I did that for a long time. I rode the bus because, European, I grew up, you save your money, you make your money, and then you spend it. So if you want to buy something, even if people will say, you got to get your car, right? I said, I'm going to have the money first before I get a car. So eventually I had cash money and I bought a car. And I did that for quite a long time, 3 or 4 years, I think. And my new friend was a beautician. So I didn't want it to hair, but I learned how to be a nail technician. So while I was waitressing, I went to school again, learned how to be a nail tech. And in a short period of time, I opened my own salon, a nail salon. I sold a little condo that I had in Vienna. I took that money and invested it in that business. And what I did is I worked 80 hours a week, right? I had so much business. I was at the perfect time, at the perfect place. I had so much work. And no was never in my vocabulary back then. It is today, but back then it wasn't. As long as somebody wanted to come, people would say, why don't you raise your prices? And I wouldn't do that. In hindsight, it was just like, I loved my freedom. I never liked anybody telling me what to do, not my family, not bosses, nobody. So I was just thrilled to have my own place, and money was enough. It was enough to pay my rent. It was enough to have a net car. It was enough to pay the rent and insurance and everything else. And I had some employees. It was enough, but never, ever, because I didn't learn it.
So
never did that.
Let me ask you a couple of questions here, because, that's quite a journey that you just explained, right? And I want to just give a little context for the listeners out there. Born in Austria, and I've talked to a few people in different parts of the world. And what I've come to understand, because I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada, and in the U.S. here, and the mindset of where we come from around this planet, the culture that is taught to us at a very young age is very different, right, from all over the place. Yes. Although we do seem to have a very common theme to want to have things in life that obviously cost money. And as you're telling me this story, I'm thinking that money wasn't really your biggest thing on the horizon for you. You weren't all about, I want to be a millionaire, I want to have a big mansion. Those weren't the things for you. You were really all about living life to your fullest. And I always say that, not everybody has a desire to have mansions and millions of dollars, right? They're very content with the life. And I don't know if that's because where you came from, you talked about young, right after the war. And I, from the many people that I've talked to, it's a very scarcity mindset back in that era, right? Because there was so much poverty after World War II that whatever people could get, they wanted to just really hang on to it. And man, it would take a lot to pry it out. But because you were so young when you went through that kind of just instilled in you. But then you were very adventurous, which is really cool. Let's talk to the people and share with them, at what point in your life, how old do you think you were when you decided money, right, what you knew about it, was really just a tool for you in the lifestyle that you wanted to live? Share that with the audience out there.
It was a tool. I had the freedom to go where I wanted to go, learn what I wanted to learn, take the classes I wanted to do. It was always important, learn something new, learn a new skill, do something. It was always about, I can tell you something. My main focus used to be, I was really curious. I have this internal drive to see what I'm made of. What am I made of and what am I capable of? I'm getting the chills as I'm saying it. I don't know where it came from. I'm not religious. My family wasn't religious. Nobody ever talked about it. I'm a middle child. I always walked my own path. And this was this thing. What am I made of? And what is my journey? And what am I going to do here? And I never had any answers, but I followed when I had the intuition. So money, I always like quality over quantity. So when I ever bought something to wear, it was something nice and expensive. And, money wasn't even a thought. It's just, I'm expressing myself. I'm doing what I love to do. I'm making a lot of people feel good. I developed personally a lot, dealing with a lot of women in my nail business, read a lot of clientele, a lot of repeat business, that I heard stories, that I grew, and then I learned how to communicate, because I grew up never speaking. I would always listen and always watch, and I never spoke, right? And then of course, it was challenging not knowing the language really, and some people making fun of my accent, and but I did it. I listened and I read. I remember watching TV with the dictionary, right? So I could learn something. And money, there was never anything talked about at home because there was no money. I remember going to the grocery store, and by the middle of the month, they wrote up the amount that we owed, right? So there was nobody ever talking about a budget or about managing and my thinking was, I love working, I love growing, I love being around people, I love expanding the newness of things. My life was just going to be a wonderful adventure. And so I was always able to have money in my mind.
So, and I get that. And a lot of people will go through life that way, right? Meaning everybody will work for most of their lives. But I think some of the things, I guess here, and I'm just thinking because I am from here and not, overseas and where you came from, that we're all taught to work to reach retirement, right? And retirement, I teach in my course, means many different things to many different people. It's not a one-size-fits-all retirement. But share with me, based on your upbringing and where you came from, and you weren't all about money, you were more about life experiences. But at some point in time in your life, in your career, I would imagine you had to think some along the lines of, well, even though I want to work for the rest of my life because I really enjoy it and I enjoy people, do I want to have some sort of financial independence? And if I do, how am I going to get there? Am I going to invest my way there? Am I just going to continue to work as many hours as I can and enjoy all of my life experiences? Because that seems to be what you really enjoy, is life experiences. But, there's some people out there that and again, I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of people that can tend to have regrets. And I know you talk about no regrets. And the regrets I mean by like, man, I'm 57 years old, or let's say, I'll just use an example. I'm 57 years old. I have nothing saved for retirement. My body is getting tired. How am I going to support myself 10 or 15 or 20 years from now? What if I live to be 90? How am I going to have money? And so a lot of people think about these things, and that's why they set up certain retirement type accounts that they want to grow over time. But what was your mindset? At what age were you thinking about, I'm not going to worry about that, the universe will take care of it, and I'm just going to ride my path through?
Great question, KJ. You know what? You never know the value of something until you don't have it. Until it leaves your life completely. So at some point, I had the great opportunity and the great gift that I had zero money. That I was going to the church for canned food, that I had no money whatsoever.
Okay.
And in hindsight, it was the greatest gift that I ever created for myself on a subconscious level, however that happened. So I recognized that the value of money and the importance of money, and to think about money too, not just freedom, not just doing whatever is fulfilling to me. How can I live fulfilled and have money? And have money. So by questioning myself over and over, and I was in my late 40s when that happened, actually, because I had a car accident and I could have really easily died. I had a head-on car accident. I couldn't work. I was in rehab for a long time. And you know what I did? I took my GED. I went to college for 2 years. While I got minimal amount of money. I could live for a year. So on crutches, I would still, okay, because my father never believed in girls needed an education. And I didn't think I really needed it either, but I needed something to do. I couldn't lay around and feel sore. And always asking myself, okay, so now what? Asking the right questions is super important, I think, in life. When we finally say, okay, so now I realize the importance of money, but I still want to do what gives me fulfillment and value too, right? So I'm asking questions. So I took lots of classes, right? And I learned critical thinking, and I learned some philosophy and all kinds of things. And what did I do then? I worked for a chiropractor for a little while just to kind of survive, because the journey didn't develop real soon. I didn't get answers real quickly. But eventually I had, what do you call it? When people call on the phone to try to sell you something.
Oh, you had a solicitor call you on the phone trying to sell you something?
Yeah. And that used to be my listing, but I accepted it because I needed to make money. And it was, I think, not even 2 weeks into that, we needed to find our own leads, our own companies. It was SEO, search engine optimization, right?
Okay.
That I knew nothing about really. But listen to this. It was such a gift, because when I'm doing research to find companies where I could help and offer that, still overcoming my own shadow, my own red. I didn't even grow up with a phone. We never had a phone. Phones were for an emergency. Right? Okay, I learned through my business, you make appointments, it was important, but to ask, and then I never knew how to ask for anything either, right? So it wasn't. But the great gift was that I found hypnosis, HMI, Hypnosis Motivational Institute, in the yellow pages online. And they had an ad there that said, oh, we have a free introductory 6-week class or something. And my antenna went up, and I'm like, I'm going to take the class, right? So I took the class, and I never left for 12 months taking the class and getting certified in hypnotherapy, because it answered so many questions. Why am I the way I am? Why are people having money, and why I don't? And why I'm working all the time and they really don't? And it answered the basic question of how we all are the same. We might look differently, we might speak differently, we might want different things, but the brain is the same for everybody. Because what happens, we're born, we don't know anything. But we learn by association, right? Mm-hmm. We associate, we feel, we learn by feeling. So when mom is upset, we are upset. And we always think it's us, because the baby intuitively knows, I have to adore my caregivers. I have to love them and adore them no matter what. There is no judgment about anything, because I might die if I don't. They might not feed me. They might throw me away. That's why, stories where children get burned by their caregivers. They get beaten. But don't anybody take them away from them.
I agree.
And that's why, because that's their survival. And we don't have a conscious mind for the first 6, 7, 8 years. That's why children can play cooking and kitchen and doctor, and they really believe that's what they're doing. They're not pretending, because they don't have a critical filter. They don't have a conscious mind. They don't have the makeup to say this is true, this is not true. That's why they really believe if you tell them, okay, there's Santa Claus or Christkindl in Austria, right? Or that's true, that's real. And we learn if we grow up in, let's say in my case, right? We didn't even have running water. I didn't know how poor I was until I created my own life. And I had bathrooms, and I had washing machines, and I had none of that. And I had air conditioning, and that was the other reason that I never really chased after money or looked at money, because I already felt like I'm living in a castle compared to where I came from.
Right.
However, living over here, living my life now is still like money, and I like money more than ever. And I've actually started investing some money because I made a conscious decision. And I said, I'm making myself financially independent.
Well, let me go back. Let me go back to where you were a minute ago, because we're talking about mindset here, and that's really your specialty, which is mindset. And in my course, my first module I teach is about mindset, because I'm just a massive believer that if we don't work on our mindset before we start trying to learn all the other financial literacy, it's just not going to make sense to you. You came from Austria, you were brought up the way you were, but there's people all across this globe that, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, through tradition, right? Their mindsets are set really early. So you found out through studies that until you're around that 7-year age, right, you're going to start developing your own mindset, which is most likely mimicking the environment you're in, mom and dad, siblings, aunts, uncles, or whatever. And that's why I think a lot of folks may have the trouble that they have over time, is because their mindset inadvertently was preset for them because of the environment they were in. And then when you get to be a young adult and you start making money, and you don't really understand that money is designed to be a tool to get you the things you want. You and I talked before we started here about my belief about money is a tool that's going to give you options. The more money you have, the more options you have. The less money you have, the less options we have. So it's interesting when you describe your journey with money that really it wasn't until later in life when you decided, you know what, man, I think I need to start investing. And this sounds like it was in your late 40s. And I just want people to understand out there, it's never too late to start investing. Now, you may have to be more aggressive with your investing if you're trying to create yourself financial independence. But I think one of the things, and I teach it, is understanding what financial independence even means, because it's a total different definition for every individual. And I'm going to go ahead, Ingrid, and just explain it real quick to the audience, because I think we hear the terms financial independence, financial freedom, and people don't know the difference. And there's a massive difference in between. And financially secure, right? These are 3 different definitions, and I teach them in my course. But let's talk about financial independence first, which is the second stepping stone to get to right after you finish complete to get yourself financially secure. And being financially independent, guys, out there means your money makes enough money, means the dividends that you can get off your investments to support your lifestyle. Now, everybody's lifestyle is different. I know people that are really happy on $2,000 a month. Once all your bills are paid, they're like, that's good. My life is simple and I'm happy. I also know people that my lifestyle is $25,000 a month. That's, I live in the mansion. I drive the big expensive cars. I go on the big vacations. That's my lifestyle. So I say, well, that's a lot more money working for you to give you that kind of a return. So I just want people to understand what financial independence means. And it's, don't try to duplicate what somebody else has. Do what your path takes you down, right? And I think that's what you teach, spiritually and everything. What's going to make you happy with money, right? Let's not worry about what the guy next door is doing. Worry about yourself. And again, it's not too late if some of you are out there thinking, man, I'm 40, whatever. man, it's too late for me to start investing and getting good returns. Once you learn how to play the game of investing, it's not too late. It's definitely not too late. But the sooner you start, the easier it is, for sure. So let's keep going with your story, because it's been mainly about mindset. And again, I absolutely love the topic of mindset and the mindset with money. But so you started to invest. Were you investing heavily, or were you just kind of learning the ropes?
Heavily money to invest. No. I can tell you exactly. I made an all around life transforming decision. Okay, so let me go back really quickly to the mindset. And when we talk about mindset, it's really the subconscious mind. It's about 95% of what we do is automatic subconscious. We're not aware of it. The program that we learned in our childhood, and let me tell you something, we're all made up the same way, which means the child actually creates its own meaning. Because, and a good example for that is, you can ask 3 children in the same family about a certain area in their life, and about the parents or about what was going on, and they all will tell you a different story. Okay, because we all assign different meaning to everything. Even as a child, it's like it just feels this way, or it feels that way, and that's just how it feels mostly. And that is planted in the subconscious, because we need a program. We cannot think, okay, like you wake up in the morning, you cannot say, okay, which food should I now put on the ground first? And what should I do first when I get up? Do I want to brush my teeth, or do I want to go to the bathroom? Or should I drink this? So it's automatic, right? That's why automatic. Everybody has the same routine in the morning and during the day, and how we go the same way to work, and how we eat the same things, and how we say the same things. We say we're not even aware of our own belief system half the time. We say the words that we hear over and over, like life is hard, and rich people are greedy, and there's so much money, perception, right? And you got to work hard for your money. The hardest working people are the poorest people in this country.
Oh, correct. You're absolutely right.
This is all words. And I can tell you the majority of people live in a state of hypnosis. And what that means, that they function 100% subconsciously. They don't ask, they don't question, they don't say, oh, why am I saying this, right? I wonder why I'm saying this. Nobody asks. I'm not saying nobody. I mean, some people do, but the general population doesn't say, oh, I wonder how come I'm at this place in my life. Or where do I even want to go? You know, Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he would always say, start with the end in mind. Imagine your funeral, and then work backwards, right? And I'm laughing about it today because I never did that. I had my own philosophy, and I don't know why. At some point, as little itsy one, I made this up for myself, my own philosophy. I want my freedom. I like curiosity. I like learning. I like adventure. I like leaping. I like knowing the unknown. And there was something else what I wanted. And knowing, but I did the same thing, react a lot of times. If something wasn't to my liking, react. Go get another job because this was just not right. And today, because I studied hypnotherapy, because I understand that program that subconsciously we have, that's what a mindset is.
So
there's a financial thermostat, right? That it goes so high, and even if it goes higher, then sometimes people get sick or they get in a car accident, to set the thermostat to the same level that it was, until a person starts to live mindfully. Mindfully meaning, what am I thinking? What am I saying? What do I really want? And makes a no uncertain terms decision, right? I had debt. I was paying minimum payment on credit cards when I made my decision. I will make myself financially independent. And I got a management job despite the fact that I had the training and doing one-on-one people, right? But there were not enough hours in the day for me to make that money one-on-one clients, right?
Right.
So I got another job in retail, and I was never in retail, but I did that. And I'm really good because the training, I know how to talk to people. I know how to listen to people. I know how to give to people what they want and what they need, right? So I have, in hindsight now, have seen that even the training to understand how somebody's mind works and what people are looking for, and the majority of them never even hear you when you talk to them. They can.
I was going to ask you, again, because of the training that you've had, and I know the trainings that I do with mindset and how people think about it, and let's share with the audience your professional opinion, because you are a professional at this. What would you suggest for the people that are out there? And I'm going to talk about people that are, say, over the age of 30, and they want to make that mindset shift about what they're doing with their money. They know they need to make a shift, right, to learn how to think and act different with their time and their money. Through your trainings, how can we help the people out there? What are some simple, maybe not simple, what are some things that they can do to help get that mindset shift so they can start really doing the right things with money and putting themselves in a better position and place with money and not worry about it? Because the worst thing that we can all do as humans is worry, period. And then worrying about money stresses people out. And unfortunately, people do really bad things when they stress out, especially about money. So what can we offer them out here with your expertise about that mindset shift?
Great question, kid. Great question. I just made a video about that. Actually, my landing page is all about that, how to stop worrying about money, right? Okay. Number one, worrying is a habit. It's addictive. It's addictive thinking. Because unless I become aware of my thoughts, the loop is the same, or it runs automatically. And people, there's a really, I don't know if Dr. Joe Dispenza is an amazing scientist who does body mind studies and testing and research. He was a chiropractor and then started hypnotherapy and evolved. And now it is, if we don't stop our thoughts and transform the thinking, we actually allow our body to become our mind on automatic. These are the thoughts, these are the feelings. So I numb myself with drinking or with smoking I smoked for decades till I decided I had enough, and I made smoking conscious, which means I actually really smelled it. I really paid attention when I smoked it. It wasn't a subconscious, habitual act. I need to smoke and inhale because, you know why? Because the body gets used to the toxins. So you have an impulse, a subconscious impulse to smoke, and people, and I used to, reach for the cigarette. And the same goes for everything else until I make it conscious and I say, oh, which means I'm aware of what I'm doing. So the thing is, for people, instead of everybody racing, I don't love that people are sick, but I love the peacefulness at the time of the pandemic. And people want to get away from it because it's uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It's so uncomfortable to sit down and think about your life and think about what you want. Most people, the first step is really spending time and saying, who am I and what do I want? Because most people want approval. Most of the world is codependent. wants to please somebody, wants to fit in somewhere, wants to read. So it would be okay, as much as possible, decide what's important to me and realize that, yes, I can learn. Anybody can learn. And yes, I can change my mind. Yes, I can. This is the first thing, because many people convince themselves, oh, this is just how I am. This is just what I've done.
I think you're right. You know, one of the other lessons I teach is I think that people get in this cycle, like you say, right? Once it's you get in the cycle and you're telling yourself it's hard to get out of this cycle. And so people with money who get in the cycle of I'll save some money on my next check, right? Or let me finish paying this off and then I'll invest money, right? They're always going to talk themselves into the things to substantiate their reasons why they're doing what they're doing. Now, being that our minds and we can do what we want is a very powerful thing. I always like to say, listen, it's simple. It's just not easy, right? To break habits like smoking, spending your money incorrectly, giving yourself reasons why you're not doing the things you know you're supposed to do, right? Because it's difficult at a young age when we learn, we have a hard time learning the difference between wants and needs. And in life, we always have way more wants than we do needs, right? And I think if people, especially at an early age, if you can get that under control, don't let your wants take over your needs, right? That financially speaking, you can definitely over time, compounding money will get you in a safer place, because whatever lifestyle you want to live, and money is just a tool to give you options. We all want options, right? Because people with less options have more stress, and stress, as you talked, when your body is not aligned and stress is totally taking you out of alignment, is why you're going to get sick, depressed, bad moods. It's a domino effect,
Right.
and money will do that to people, right? It's either going to give you the highest of highs or the lowest of lows. And so as you talk about mindset and how we're capable of doing it, I think most people don't truly understand that it is,
Right.
you do have the power.
Okay, here's the thing. The first empowering realization for me, it was really understanding or learning I am the source of everything that happens in my life. And it was a really mixed emotion for a little while, because then there was some, oh, so I did this, I created this and this and this in my life. And till, you work through it a little bit and you make peace with it and you embrace it. And you said, this is the greatest news that I've heard in my life. I'm never sick. I take no medication. I'm healthier than ever. I'm happier than ever. The longer I live, I'm more productive than ever. I love teaching the basics, really, and showing, okay, you have choices. You can respond this way or you can respond this way. And see, even if you don't want to believe it, try it one time. Try it one time and say, you know what? Maybe it's true.
Right.
There are great steps. Okay. Since one of the biggest times we're in a state of hypnosis is when we wake up. It's the transitional state from sleeping to waking fully up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not really fully awake for many people. They can't remember by the end of the day, what did I eat, what did I wear, who did I talk to, how, and that's because, right? I love being responsible for me, and I love being responsible for my choices, because I feel powerful. I feel like, of course. And this is where my spiritual alchemy comes into, that there are so many people who are spiritual, who are religious. What about that aspect? What about incorporating that?
I think, yeah, I think you're right. And I know a lot of spiritual people who don't give a second thought about money. It's not that, they're on a path that they believe is the right path for them, and it doesn't have anything to do with money. They'll make just enough money to basically survive and a few extra little whatevers. I believe that the mindset, which we all know can change, you have the power of changing your mindset. And in my course is what I try to get you to understand, that it is possible. It is up to you. You hold the key. You have to be, as you say, responsible for making this decision. You cannot blame anybody for it. It is all you. It's your mind. It's your spirit. You have to make those decisions. And I think when people make decisions, though, we're in such a society of instant gratification that they think they can make a mindset shift and they'll see instant results. And you and I both know that's not how it works. You definitely have to recognize when you're making a mindset shift of the little things that are happening that are positive in your life. And we're all different. And I know people that can make a mindset shift in a matter of a few days. I know people that can take a year or longer, right, to make this kind of a shift. But let's share with the audience. I want to go ahead and plug what you do, because you do offer a free explain to the audience what you offer, because in your program that you have out there, that I know that you're able to talk to people and kind of walk them through some of these things. Share with them what you have.
Okay, so here's the thing. Since we are the brain is like a computer, right? So we programmed it in our childhood. Whatever we felt, whatever we saw, whatever we heard, we made meaning of, and we installed our own computer program. But many people want to blame parents or blame somebody. There's no blame really, because the parents learned it from their parents. So it's monkey see, monkey do, right? Monkey see, monkey do, and that's just how we are created. But then the truth of the matter is that it's just a starting point, right? So we need something to start our life with. And then it's time to mature. We're not children anymore. We want to become adults. And this is really what many people reject. I want to stay a child all my life. I want to be responsible all my life. I want right now, and this and this and this, right? If you ever ask somebody like that, saying, okay, so now you want this, you got it. What does it really mean? What does it really mean? Okay, let me talk about, so hypnotic state, everybody puts themselves into it and out of it every day. So it's I, as a trained hypnotherapist, I don't control anybody's mind. I'm not putting you or anybody in a state. I will say, okay, if the client says to me, I want to change my mindset, I want to release this, and what it's really about is releasing things that people think they know that are not so.
Well said.
They are not helpless. They are not victims. They are not powerless. They are. So it's really about releasing all of that the world tells them. And you know what the world tells them? Because people who feel victimized and people who feel powerless are easily controlled. And that's what TV and movies and most of life is, that somebody is controlling the masses.
I agree. So that's a powerful statement. That's a really powerful statement. But, you and I are out here. I've got my program. You've got your program. We're trying to help people, right?
That's right.
And
right. And there are people, and I am so on fire about it, because it heals people. It heals them of diseases. It heals them from poverty. It heals them from abusive relationships. And if I can change one person's life, I have lived a good life.
I agree. Well,
so
Ingrid,
state. So, somebody can get in the car and drive on the freeway and don't get the exit, miss the exit, right? You know where they are? They're in a state of trance. They are in the daydreaming state. They are not present. They are not in the now. They are not mindful. I'm driving this car now. I'm paying attention. It's like, okay, right? So in that state, everybody is super. We talk about being suggestible. So let's say somebody comes to me, you sit in the chair, we talk a little bit, and then a highly effective way and quicker way than anything else is, of course, go straight to the subconscious. Communicate with the subconscious. And in that state of the trance state is really just the critical mind, the conscious mind goes out of the way, right? Kind of doesn't listen. If you put yourself in that state, you're driving the car and you're not paying attention. What are you doing? You're leaving conscious thinking totally unattended, right? You just go somewhere and you're feeling and you're daydreaming and that's the same way in hypnosis. So now that somebody agrees to it, right? Somebody says, yes, I want this change, and yes. So me just saying a few sentences, you relax and you take it. So everybody has got different communication a little bit. They put themselves in that state, right? And then the subconscious mind functions totally different. It doesn't question anything. It never has, and it still doesn't. It didn't question anything when we were children, and it still doesn't question anything now. So it is super easy to communicate with the subconscious because it says yes. But you gotta be clear. You gotta be clear what it is you want. No vagueness, no, I want more money. More money is not a number. More money than what? The amount of money. Or I like feeling powerful. I am now choosing, I'm now deciding, I'm now burning the ships. I like burning the ships. I'd say I make a decision.
Right.
Burn the ships. But not everybody. I'm 100% or nothing person anyway. So, but not everybody. And I'm just saying, it's so really clear. Starting today, from this day forward, right? So you give the subconscious a new program. And it will, at night when we sleep, the mind works, the subconscious mind never sleeps. That's why people in an operating room, the subconscious knows what the doctors talk about, because even if you're in anesthesia, the subconscious is awake. And if the doctors talk about, I don't think she's going to make it, she knows she's going to die, and she's going to die because she believes she's going to die.
That's strong. That's pretty strong. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been, what's really powerful is that state, we enter the state of hypnosis when we go to sleep. So when people have many habits, right, they put their head on the pillow and they start worrying what was wrong about today and what's wrong tomorrow and what's wrong with all of life and everybody else and myself. So we can stop that. We can now use our creative mind, our creative imagination. Einstein said creativity is more important than knowledge. Your mind power, your thought power, your visualization creates. So somebody can lay there at night and imagine what their new bank account is going to look like, how it's going to feel when this is paid off and they're not driving their new car, for instance, or putting their child to college or whatever their desire is, right? So instead of worrying, I don't have enough money, how am I going to pay for this, and how I'm going to imagine it being paid, and imagine and feel, because that feeling creates the prosperity. Now I will attract an opportunity where I said, but you can attract it if you're fearful. it's the feeling of fear repels money, repels opportunity, repels friendships, repels everything we want.
I agree. Again, we could talk about this subject for hours and hours. I want to thank you. I'm going to just review real quick, which is, again, mindset. I'm leaning towards the money mindset and what we have to do, and the way you explained it. It's like manifest what you want. The universe will give you whatever you ask for. Be grateful for everything you do have in your life. And be grateful for the smallest of things. Be grateful you're healthy, you're breathing. Be grateful you haven't been sick. Just the smallest of things I believe we can all be grateful for. So Ingrid, I want to thank you for coming out and sharing your knowledge with everybody. I think a lot of people can really be on the same page with you. But like I said earlier, simple, not easy. But for some people, they just have to learn it, period, right? They don't understand maybe why they're thinking. But again.
Excuse me, I do some complimentary consulting if somebody has some questions for me. Okay, or can email me.
Definitely. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and link your information on the podcast. So as the people are coming on here listening, I'll definitely get your information out there that they could reach out to you and have a session with you and take the conversation as deep as they like. So again, I appreciate you coming out. It's been an amazing conversation. Again, it's number one chapter in my trainings. I just think we have to get it right, or it's very difficult for all the other modules to fall into place. So again, I appreciate you coming out.
I appreciate you having me.
Okay. All right, guys. If you liked everything you heard today on the podcast, make sure you subscribe. I put out a new podcast every Wednesday. Ingrid will be out here in just a little while. Don't forget to smash the like button on YouTube, you guys that are watching this on YouTube, and subscribe to my YouTube channel also. So I'll see you guys next week. And Ingrid, you take care, okay?
You too. Thank you.